with a third bid for Scott McTominay. Manchester United apparently submit initial offer for Sander Berge. Fabrizio says that United want 2 more signings before the end of the window, and Pellistri to Panathinaikos looks like it will go ahead. These are some of the stories we will be discussing on this morning's show, but before we get into that, please do me one small favour. Smash a like on today's video. Let's try and see 1,000 likes on this episode. And if this is your first time watching, please do subscribe to the channel. I'm live every single day at 8:30, 1:30 and 6. We're very, very close to 40,000 subscribers. So if this is your first time watching, make sure you get involved. Everyone is welcome. Right, let's jump straight on into it. And I want to start the show off by talking about Facundo Pellistri. So this story was widely reported yesterday by the Fabrizios, by The Athletic, all of the top people. And the headline is this, that Facundo Pellistri looks like he will move to Panathinaikos for a deal worth £8.5 million. I mean, it's not very much money, is it? I'll say that from the beginning. He's a full Uruguayan international. He definitely has bags of talent. I just don't think he's going to get the game time at Manchester United. I would have hoped for a little bit more than 8.5 million, but with 1 year left on his contract, maybe that's fair. I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think, when Oliver Skipp is moving from Tottenham for £20 million, Oliver Skipp, 20 million. Yes, you just heard that right. You're not in some weird nightmare. Then you would expect that Facundo Pellistri would be worth more than 8.5 million, wouldn't you? I mean, when was the last time Oliver Skipp even played a football match? Like, Oliver Skipp, 23 years of age. How have Tottenham managed to pull that off, by the way? £20 million plus add-ons for Oliver Skipp. And we're here scratching our heads, wondering why we're only getting £8.5 million for Pellistri, who starts for the Uruguayan national team. Really strange. Let's have a look. Oliver Skipp. Yeah, I mean, it is frustrating, isn't it? But apparently Manchester United have included some sort of sell-on clause where they'll receive 50% of any future transfer fee. So I guess it makes the situation a little bit better, but it's still a bit frustrating. I mean, yeah, let's have a look at this, right? Oliver Skipp last season played 600 minutes of football, and they've just sold him for £20 million plus add-ons. And we're here only getting £8.5 million for Pellistri. And usually the problem is the wages. But Pellistri's not on big wages. He's on about 20k a week at Manchester United. So I don't really understand why, teams like Tottenham are able to get 20 million for Oliver Skipp, yet we are asking for £8.5 million for Pellistri. They're both the same age. In fact, Pellistri's a year younger. Let's have a look. So Oliver Skipp's got... maybe that's why. Oliver Skipp's got 3 years left on his Tottenham contract, whereas Pellistri's only got 1 year left. So maybe that's why. I don't know. I'm trying to justify it in my head. I'm trying to make the situation seem better. But yeah, I mean, it's not great, is it? And I think a lot of people in this fan base will be sat here this morning saying, I would actually rather see Pellistri play than Anthony play. And I would agree with that. I would much rather Anthony get sold than Pellistri. But in reality, nobody wants to buy Anthony. Nobody wants him. No one's going to give us any money for Anthony. So we can all sit here and say, it's a disgrace that Anthony gets picked over Pellistri. But the fact of the matter is, we have so many options in our wide areas. When you look at all the options we've got Rashford, Garnacho, Ahmad, Pellistri, Sancho, Anthony, Bruno can play on the right. Mason Mount can play on the right. We've probably got about 8 or 9 people who are all fighting for the same position at the moment. So letting Pellistri go, although 8.5 million sounds like not very much money at all, it probably has to be done. And you know what? I wish Pellistri all the best. I'm sorry that it didn't work out for Manchester United and Pellistri. I had such high expectations when he joined. What was it, 4 seasons ago? I thought he was going to be, someone who would break through into the first team. I really, really did genuinely believe that, but it just hasn't worked out. And is that, manager's fault? Is it his fault? I don't know. In all fairness, he did go off on loan a couple of times and didn't really do that well either. So, yeah, I don't think you can, 100% blame Pellistri's downfall on, Erik ten Hag or Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or any of the managers that have been here over the last 4 or 5 years. But the fact of the matter is this: Pellistri, wish you all the best. Hopefully he goes to Panathinaikos. Hopefully he fulfills, the talent and potential that we know he all has. And hopefully in the future, they managed to sell him for a large amount of money, and then we'll benefit from that. What I will say is this, though, which makes it a little bit more positive. We bought him for €8.5 million 4 seasons ago, and we're going to sell him for €10 million. So we will make €1.5 million profit. So it's better than nothing. It's not going to be a loss on our books. So, yeah. I wouldn't say I'm happy about it, but I understand the situation. I understand that the player wants to play. I understand that, I understand that he's only got 1 year left on his contract, and I understand that he wants to leave the club. So, yeah, it is what it is, isn't it? But you can let me know your thoughts on Pellistri in the comment section below. Let's move on from Pellistri, though, and let's jump on over to Sander Berge. This is coming out from Simon Jones, who is a journalist here in the UK, and he is reporting that Manchester United have now made an offer for Sander Berge, but fall short of Burnley's £30 million valuation. He goes on to say that Manuel Ugarte is the preferred option, but PSG will need to drop their asking price. How does everyone feel about this, by the way? I honestly would not mind if Sander Berge came in, if it meant he was replacing McTominay, and then it meant that next summer we went and got someone like an Ugarte, or you try and go for Zubimendi, or, you go for one of those, top CDMs. I don't understand where all this hate's come for Sander Berge. I think it's a little bit uninformed. I think just because he plays for Burnley, people are turning their nose up at him. We're being like snobs. We're being, we're Manchester United. We don't buy Burnley players. I just don't understand that narrative. And I think that, he was the best player for Burnley last season. And if you go and look at the games where we played against Burnley, Burnley played Manchester United off the park. They deserved to win when they came to Old Trafford. They were better than us. So, it's easy for us to say, he plays for Burnley. But in reality, he did well last season, I thought. So I'm not actually against Sander Berge whatsoever. I would, however, say that £30 million seems a little bit excessive. I think he's probably worth £15 to £20 million tops. Considering he wants to leave the club, considering Burnley want to sell him, 30 million, I think they're having a laugh. If we went and got Sander Berge for £15 million, I would have no issue with that whatsoever. And I think even the most anti-Sander Berge people would struggle to justify the hate towards him if we got him for £15 million. That would be a squad player. It would be another CDM option, physical, strong, 6'4". For that amount of money, I think it would be a bargain. Whereas 30 million, I think, is way over the top. I mean, if you look on Transfer Market, right, which is usually pretty reliable, it says his value is €20 million, which is £15 million. So I would go along with that. I would not be paying more than, say, 15, 20 million. Very, very tops for Sander Berge. But I would like to sign him. I think he would be a good addition to the squad. I think he'd offer something different to what McTominay does. And I think, his Premier League experience would be great. His physicality, he would offer us something different. So for me personally, I would like to see Sander Berge. I still feel like all of this, though, is just a big distraction to try and get PSG to bring down their asking price for Manuel Ugarte. But what I do like about Ineos is we clearly have a backup option. The backup option is Sander Berge, right? The number one option is Manuel Ugarte. And then the story also goes on to say that, let me get it up. It says that Sander Berge hasn't played in any of Burnley's games so far because he is going to leave the club. It says he had a very little injury as well, which the manager wants to be aware of and cautious of. So effectively, Burnley are expecting Sander Berge to leave in the kind of final days and weeks of the window. And Manchester United are one of the clubs really, really pushing for his signature. I mean, in an ideal world, we'd go and get Sander Berge and Manuel Ugarte, because I think if McTominay leaves, Hannibal's going to leave, maybe Eriksen leaves towards the end of the window. We're going to need 2 midfielders. One won't be enough. So, yeah, I think the option, obviously Donny's gone as well. So a few players have left from that midfield already. And, if a couple more did leave, I think we would need 2. So it's good that we have this open dialogue with Burnley. We know that we have this backup option, that if Manuel Ugarte's price still doesn't come down and PSG is stamping their feet in the ground, then, that at least we can go for this cheaper option, see how he gets on, and then next season we can maybe look for, a more experienced, slightly more prestigious player. So yeah, we'll wait and see how that one progresses over the next couple of weeks. We've got over 1,000 people watching live now. We've only got 150 likes though. So if everyone who has just joined could do me a favor and smash a like, that'd be really, really appreciated. Let's try and get to 1,000 likes on this video. And if this is your first time watching, please do subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 40k subscribers. Once we hit 40k, I'm going to give out 2 of the new Manchester United shirts. So make sure you go and subscribe, and there will be a giveaway when we hit 40k. Go and get involved. Everyone is welcome. Okay, so obviously we spoke about Sander Berge. We've spoke about... We'll talk about Manuel Ugarte for a couple of minutes. The Manuel Ugarte situation remains the same. It is getting quite frustrating now. Man United are effectively playing a gamble here. You know, they're playing it very, very risky. They're hoping that PSG get desperate towards the end of the window and they bring the price down. Now, there's no guarantee that PSG will do this. I personally think they will, but PSG might just say, no, we're not bringing the price down, you know? That's the price. Either you do it or you don't. That is a strong possibility. But I think in hindsight, when you think of the players that PSG have in and around their midfield and the fact that they've just signed João Neves, like, Manuel Ugarte is not going to get any game time at PSG. That's a fact. Manuel Ugarte is training away from the first team at the moment. That's a fact. And he's not even in the match day squads either. So all roads lead to Old Trafford for Manuel Ugarte. Like, that is the most obvious thing that can happen in the final weeks of the window. It's just the price. It's just whether Manchester United cave in and give them the money they want, or if PSG cave in and drop the asking price. And I think, in all honesty, the most likely option here is that PSG will probably drop their asking price. By how much, I don't know. But yeah, we'll wait and see how that one progresses. I still think that Manuel Ugarte will become a Manchester United player. And I think, you know, if he doesn't, then at least we know that we have some backup options waiting to come in. Sander Berge is one of them. I know, obviously, Sander Berge isn't as an exciting name, let's say, as Manuel Ugarte. But just because he plays for Burnley doesn't mean he's a bad player. And just because Manuel Ugarte plays for PSG doesn't mean he's a good player either. You know, it goes two ways. And the thing that we have to remember is that PSG are still supposedly interested in Jadon Sancho. So is there a world where further into the window, some sort of swap deal arises? That's a strong possibility. I still think Jadon Sancho is going to leave the club. I would be very, very surprised if he's here come September the 1st. But, you know, crazy things happen in football. Obviously, Chelsea yesterday got beaten 2-0 by Man City. We saw... Did anybody see the clip of Todd Boehly leaving when the second goal went in? About the 85th minute, Man City scored their second goal and Todd Boehly left the stadium. And there were so many people on Twitter saying, you know, he's gone off to sign another 1,000 players and all the rest of it. Quite funny. There's some breaking news coming out here actually from Fabrizio Romano really quickly. And Fabrizio is reporting that Panathinaikos are now about to close the deal to sign Facundo Pellistri. He says the deal is almost there. He says it'll be a permanent transfer from Manchester United. One key factor, the Panathinaikos manager, Alonso, pushing to have Pellistri. So yeah, Pellistri to Panathinaikos looks like it's going to happen. That'll be another 10 million euros in the bank, which, you know, hopefully will get us something. And hopefully we'll go towards another player. But yeah, I wish Pellistri all the best. I'm sorry it didn't work out for Pellistri, but I think, you know, him moving on is definitely the correct decision, without a shadow of a doubt. Okay, so yeah, in relation to Jadon Sancho, let me just go back to that quickly. Obviously, we heard the stories last week that Chelsea are interested in Sancho. We heard the stories that PSG are still interested in Sancho. I honestly think that Sancho will go. We've got, 10 days left of the window, I think? The window closes a week on Friday. So yeah, about 10, 11 days left. I would be absolutely shocked if Jadon Sancho's still here then. You know, I know people said, oh, he had an ear infection, so he didn't play on Friday. But at the same time, Erik ten Hag said he was also still available and that he can only pick 20 players, and Jadon Sancho wasn't picked. So I think the writing's on the wall for Jadon Sancho, and I think, you know, come September the 1st, he will be playing football somewhere else. Where that will be, that remains to be seen. Obviously, it could be PSG, it could be Chelsea, it could be, you know, another club might come in for him. Maybe Dortmund decide that they have money now, or Bayern Munich, or I don't know. There will be definitely interest from lots and lots of people for Jadon Sancho because they'll see it as an opportunity on the market, Sancho. You know, he's a player with lots of potential, a player who is probably available for less than what he, you know, obviously what we paid for him, 73 million euros. But yeah, I think, he will be attracting interest. I think the only problem with Sancho is his wages. He's on very, very big wages at Manchester United, about 250k a week, which probably puts some people off. Although arguably teams like PSG and Chelsea, like they pay crazy wages already. So, I doubt Chelsea would be put off by 250k a week. Let's have a little look actually at their wages. Yeah, I mean Chelsea pay Lukaku 350k a week. Chelsea pay Sterling 350k a week, and he wasn't even in the squad yesterday. He didn't even get picked to sit on the bench. So, yeah, we'll see. Somebody in the chat is saying, do you think we will beat Brighton on Saturday? I think we can beat Brighton, yeah, definitely. Brighton plays such a high line, and we've got so much pace with Ahmad Garnacho, Rashford. I think we can definitely beat Brighton on the weekend, definitely. But you never know in football, do you? You never know. I'm feeling quite confident though going into the Brighton game. Obviously they've got a new manager. They're still a little bit all over the place. I don't think they've really signed anyone yet, have they, Brighton? They've signed a couple of people. They might have more players by then, to be fair. But the point I'm making is, it's a different team. It's a new style of play. It's a new setup. A couple of their players have left. They've signed a couple of players, to be fair. They've spent quite a lot of money, actually, Brighton. They've signed 4 players. That's a lot for Brighton, isn't it? Obviously, they did do well in their opening game. They won 4-0, didn't they? Let's have a look. Yeah, they bought quite a few players. But yeah, no, I'm feeling pretty confident going into that game. I think Manchester United should win. But yeah, you never know. Let me know what your score predictions are in the chat. Why not? What's your score predictions for Manchester United versus Brighton on Saturday? I have a feeling that we're going to go on a bit of a run at the beginning of the season. I don't think we're going to win the league. I don't think we're going to, any of that. But I have a feeling that we're going to start the season positively. I just feel like there's a bit more of a togetherness this season. I feel like the players seem to all be in line with Erik ten Hag. And, you've got Martinez back. You've got Mazraoui now. You've got Ruud van Nistelrooy as the assistant. Like, I just feel like it's all a little bit more together than last season. But, maybe come Saturday afternoon, we lose 4-0 to Brighton and everyone's crying. But I feel confident at the moment. Confident that we'll at least start the season well. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Scott McTominay then, shall we? Because there are lots and lots of stories coming out in the last few hours that apparently Fulham have come back to the table to submit a third bid for Scott McTominay. Apparently Manchester United are asking for £25 million for McTominay. Fulham apparently willing to pay the £25 million. Obviously they had a bid rejected, I think it was 2 weeks ago, for £20 million. And Fulham supposedly said that they weren't willing to increase their offer. That was their final offer. Then what happens? Of course, 2 weeks later they come back and they submit a new bid. So at the moment, there are multiple clubs who want McTominay. Napoli, Fulham, Everton, Brentford, obviously Fenerbahce, Galatasaray, probably not very likely. But it might be that we have a bidding war on our hands here, They know what the kind of asking price is. It's going to be £25 million, but maybe it goes above that. I mean, if Oliver Skipp is worth £20 million, right? That's how much Oliver Skipp's just moved to Leicester for from Tottenham. If he's worth £20 million, then I'm sorry, like McTominay's worth 30, 40 million pounds. If you're looking at that, I swear Oliver Skipp is so average, like terrible. I'm not saying McTominay's good, but like, in what world is Oliver Skipp worth £25 million plus add-ons? It makes no sense. So yeah, we'll wait and see whether Fulham's bid is accepted. The 25 million plus add-ons is the asking price from Manchester United. Apparently Napoli need to sell Victor Osimhen first, which I think might happen. I mean, Chelsea are probably going to go and spend another 500 million now, aren't they? After losing the opening game, I'm sure Chelsea will go on a mad one. Maybe they'll sign like 5 or 6 players. They'll have players, who can't even fit on the team bus. That doesn't matter at Chelsea. They just buy and buy and buy and buy, don't they? But yeah, so obviously I'll keep you updated on McTominay. But realistically, the situation is as good as it could possibly be because we have multiple clubs all battling out for his signature. We have multiple clubs who have money who want to buy him, which should, I hope, get us the best price for Scott McTominay. I would like to see about 30 million. I would like to see about 30 million. I think, as I said, if Oliver Skipp is worth £20 million, then surely McTominay's worth more than 25. I know he only has 1 year left on his contract, but I just don't really understand that. People in the chat are asking about Ivan Toney. So Ivan Toney at the moment to Manchester United looks pretty unlikely. Fabrizio was reporting last night that apparently Al Ali are trying to sign him from the Saudi League. They had a £35 million bid rejected last week. That's such a shame, I think, to be honest. Ivan Toney going to the Saudi League at 28. He's just broken into the England team. You know, he's had interest from Man United. He's had interest from Chelsea, Arsenal. Like, he's had interest from top clubs in the Premier League, right? He says he wants to leave Brentford to go and play at the top level, to go and play in the Champions League or the Europa League, right? And instead, he's going to go and play in the Saudi League. And we know why. It's just for money, isn't it? I get it. Going and playing in the Saudi League will secure his wealth for the next 10 generations of his family, you know? They pay, what, like $500,000 a week probably they'll give him. So I get it in some ways, but surely he could do that later on in his career. Like, surely he could go and play for a Man United or a Chelsea or an Arsenal or a Tottenham or somebody and then go to Saudi later down the line. He's only 28. Like, that's not very old in football terms for a striker. I mean, how old's Harry Kane? Harry Kane is 30, isn't he now? Yeah, he's 30. Harry Kane moved to Bayern Munich for 100 million at the age of 30, whereas Ivan Toney, at the age of 28, wants to go to Saudi. Like, I think it's a little bit of a, you know, a little bit of a backward step for him, but obviously that's up to him. Are Manchester United genuinely interested in him? I'm not sure. I think, you know, if we could get him for like really cheap, I think, you know, Man United would have gone for him. But when we've got Xerxes, we've got Højlund, obviously Rashford can play as a striker, Bruno can play as a false nine, Ahmad can play as a false nine, Mount can play as a false nine. Like, we do have quite a lot of options in the attacking area. And I think, you know, as much as I would have liked Ivan Toney, as much as I would like one of those kind of out-and-out goal scorers, it probably wasn't the priority for this summer. You know, we still need probably a midfielder. We probably still need another centre-back. We need probably maybe a left-back. We might need another winger. Like, there's still probably 4 or 5 players that we need before we went and signed a third striker, in my opinion. And obviously you've got Ethan Wheatley, who's coming through, and you've got Chido Obi Martin. So we do have other options on the bench. Welcome to Red Fred 55, who's just joined the Daily Red Devil Members Club. Thank you very much for your support, my friend. I really, really do appreciate it. If you want to join the Members Club, hit the $sign. You get a badge next to your name. It supports the channel. Obviously, any support is, of course, appreciated. So if you are in a position, go and get involved right now. I'll drop a link into the chat to do that. Or you can just hit the $sign. But yeah, thank you, Red Fred. I hope you're doing well, mate. And welcome to the Members Club. Let me just have a sip of my tea. I pretty much just drank my whole tea in one sip. It was kind of cold. Darren says, I think Toney might be the last player we sign in this window, depending on what happens with Sancho. That's fair. Maybe. I mean, if Sancho leaves, right? I would go and sign another striker because we would need another attacking player, I think. I don't think we need any more wingers. We've got plenty of wingers. Like, but if Sancho goes, I would use that money to bring in another striker, definitely. 100%. Because Xerxes can play as a number 9 and a number 10. He's not an out-and-out striker for me, Xerxes. Højlund is an out-and-out striker. But the problem I have with Højlund is I just think he has a lot of injury problems, I think. And I know it's still early on in his career, but he had this hamstring injury last season, didn't he, Højlund? And he missed, I think, 5 or 6 games. And now he's got that exact same injury this season. And maybe that's something that they can sort out. Maybe he can have surgery. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But all I'm seeing is a recurring injury for Rasmus Højlund. And it's always at points where, like, last season, I remember he was in form and then he got injured and then he was... Do you know what I mean? Like, he seems to start building up a bit of momentum and then he gets injured. He's still obviously very, very young. He's 21, but I don't know whether that actually makes it worse, you know, that he's getting all of these injuries at such a young age. And it's not, you know, I'm not by any means saying he's injury prone. I'm just saying, like, at the moment, can we rely on him? Last season, he missed 13 games through injury, which I think is quite a lot, to be honest, for a 21-year-old. And all of them were hamstring injuries or, they were all hamstring injuries. And then this season, he's already missed 3 games with a hamstring injury. Obviously, he missed the Community Shield. He's missed the He missed the Fulham game, and I think he's not going to be back until after the international break, which is at the end of in about a month or something. So he's probably going to miss about another 3 or 4 games now. So yeah, I don't know. As much as I like Højlund, as much as I like Xerxes, if we have ambitions of winning the league, of winning more trophies, I think strengthening in the attacking area is actually quite important. And the most important thing for me would be to sign somebody who is different profile-wise to Xerxes and to Højlund. I'm not by any means saying, sign somebody exactly the same of Højlund. That would be pointless. I would look for somebody who is, very good at hold-up play, very good at shooting, all the rest of it. Macmillan says if Sancho leaves, we'll get another wide player. I don't think we will, mate. Why would we need another wide player? If Sancho leaves, we'll have Anthony, Ahmad, Garnacho, Rashford. Those are our first team right wingers and left wingers. And then underneath that, you've got Bruno, who's played on the wing before, and you've got Mount, who's played on the wing before. And I'm pretty sure Xerxes can play on the wing as well. So, I don't know. I don't think we need... Even if Pellistri and Sancho leave, I honestly don't think we need a wide player. I think we're already pretty stacked in that area. Maybe you could sign somebody who can play as a left winger, a right winger, and a striker. That could be interesting. Somebody who's versatile across the whole of the front three. But I don't think Manchester United specifically need, another right winger, because Ahmad's going to start. And if Ahmad doesn't start, Anthony's going to start. And if he doesn't start, it's going to be Garnacho. And if he doesn't start, it's going to be Rashford. There's so many people fighting for that right wing and left wing position that signing another player in that area, I just don't really think is a priority. Macmillan says, I don't think Anthony will play. I think Anthony will play. I do. Why would Anthony stay at Manchester United and do an interview saying that, this year is going to be his year and everyone will be talking about him and all the rest of it? Like, why would he do that interview and why would he stay if he's been told that he's not going to play? I reckon Anthony will play. I don't think he'll start, but I think he'll get game time off the bench. I think he'll play in like League Cup matches. Maybe he'll play in some of the Europa League matches. And realistically, right, if we go and sign a right winger, what happens to Ahmad then? Does Ahmad just not play then? And then that's Ahmad forgotten about, So I'm a little bit torn about that whole narrative of whether we should sign another, another winger. But we'll wait and see. I mean, obviously, we're all just giving our opinions. We've got over 1,500 people watching live now, which is amazing. If everyone could do me a favour and hit the like button, that would be appreciated. We've only got 300 likes on the video, so if everyone goes and likes it right now, we will hit our target. And we're only 5 subscribers away from 38,300, so please go and subscribe if you haven't already. Everyone is welcome here on Daily Red Devil. Okay, let's move on from that, though. Obviously, you can let me know your thoughts on that one. If Jadon Sancho leaves, do you think we need another winger or do you think we should go for a striker? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I personally would go with a striker 100%, but I'd be interested to see what other Manchester United fans think. So go and get your comments in. Let me know your thoughts on that one. Okay, let's move on from that, though, and let's jump on over to... So we spoke about Sander Berge. We spoke about Pellistri. Obviously, we spoke about... there's a little bit of an update on Casemiro, actually. So Fabrizio said that apparently Casemiro was up for sale this summer, but apparently the Saudi clubs didn't end up coming in for him. He says that there were talks with Al Ittihad over a deal this summer, but apparently Al Ittihad changed their president, and their president said, we don't want to go for Casemiro anymore, so the deal fell through. So Casemiro's here to stay, I think. Obviously, he's got, 2 years left on his current contract. I think he'll probably stay this season, and then this time next year, Casemiro will probably leave, probably go to Saudi, I imagine. But yeah, I don't have a massive problem with that, I would have sold Casemiro, but I think he has been decent. He was decent in the Community Shield, he was decent against Fulham, and I think he's, a good player to have in and around the squad. If he plays the way he did against Fulham every game this season, then I think he's worth having. But in reality, we know that Casemiro can drop in form like really, really quickly. He can go from looking sharp to sluggish in the space of 1 week. And yeah, I guess that's the job of the fitness team. It's the job of the manager to manage his game time. And I guess that's why it's so important that we sign another CDM. Because last season and the season before, Casemiro played pretty much all the time. He was relied upon, right? And that's probably why he got these little injuries. He got, he looked out of it a little bit because he was probably overplayed. The guy's 32, right? He's not young anymore. He's 32 years of age. He's trying to hold down the midfield for Manchester United. No wonder he's getting injuries. Last season, he missed 17 games through injury. That's a lot, isn't it? And what happens then if he's out? McTominay's going to be in the midfield. McTominay might not even be here. So, yeah, we desperately do need a Manuel Ugarte or a Sander Berge or someone like that, because if we lose Casemiro for 17 games this season, or Casemiro drops in form, we have nothing. We literally have nothing. We've got Toby Collier, who I like, but I'm not convinced is ready to be starting every week in the Premier League. I might be wrong. Maybe he does a Kobe Mainu. Maybe he starts and then he never gets dropped. That would be amazing if that happens, but it's a massive, massive risk. Just because Kobe Mainu is this incredible story of, in one season he's gone from a player that nobody really had heard of to playing in the Euros final, starting every week for Manchester United. Like, that's pretty rare. That doesn't happen that often. And we can't, have that same expectation for every single youth player. We've got to be realistic. Toby Collier has the potential. I like him. He has the attributes, but that doesn't mean that he's going to immediately be starting every week. And it doesn't mean that if Casemiro was injured for 20 games, that Toby Collier would be able to step up. Maybe he would, but it's whether Manchester United are willing to take that gamble. Because, at the end of the day, this is a big, big season for Manchester United, and we need to make sure that Erik ten Hag has all of the tools he needs to succeed. So, yeah, I definitely think we need a new CDM, 100%, even just to rotate. And as Darren says, Casemiro's game time needs to be managed. Exactly. He says he should only be playing once a week. Yeah, I can 100% agree with you. Casemiro shouldn't be playing in the Europa League or the League Cup or the FA Cup. Like, he should just play once a week when we need him in certain games. Whereas Manuel Ugarte is 23. He's kind of at the beginning of his, not the beginning, but he's still young. He's got the energy. And we need to be able to rotate him. Let's see what else people are saying in the chat quickly. What we got? Flying Dutchman says we can't be relying on Mainu to play every game. Yeah, I agree with you. I think, with Mainu, if we overplay him, he is going to get tired, and then he'll start having some bad games, and then, we know what happens then. People start being negative about him, which is not something I'm going to do. We've seen Kobe Mainu's quality. The only way that Kobe Mainu drops in form for me is if he's overplayed. If he's having to play with injuries. Like, that's what we did to Rashford, remember? As much criticism as Rashford gets, like, there was many, many years where Rashford was playing through, like, he had like a broken shoulder, I'm pretty sure, and was still playing. And, Man United have been really bad in the past for not managing the players properly, like with their injuries and with things like that, and not letting them have surgery. So, yeah, I think Kobe Mainu needs to be managed because he is still young. He's still growing. He's still developing. He's still not the finished product. So I agree with you. But I would say that we have got Mason Mount who can play there. We've obviously got Eriksen who can play there. We have quite a few options who can play in that position. Obviously, Bruno could play there, and you could have Xerxes as the number 10. So Ahmad could play as the number 10. Like, we do have options in that area. And I think Mainu is going to be the starting midfielder, but there should be competition for him. And at the moment, I would say the competition is probably Mason Mount, because Bruno's not going to play as a false 9 all season. As soon as Højlund's back or Xerxes fit, I imagine that Xerxes or Højlund will start as the striker. Bruno will be the number 10, and then it will be a midfield of Casemiro and Mainu and Casemiro, or Mainu and Ugarte. So, yeah. What we got? Kenneth says we need a backup to Casemiro. Yeah, I agree, mate, 100%. What else have we got in the chat? George says Toby Collier and Manuel Ugarte pivot could be amazing. That would be interesting. It's quite defensive, though. Might be a little bit too defensive. I mean, it depends what game you're playing. It depends on the context. If you're playing in a must-win game at Old Trafford against Man City, then yeah, maybe Toby Collier and Manuel Ugarte would be good. But yeah, I haven't really thought about it like that, to be honest. But yeah, it's an interesting take. Gary says Sander Berge isn't the answer. I think Sander Berge is the answer if we can't raise funds to buy Manuel Ugarte, Is Sander Berge my dream signing? No. But is he better than McTominay for what we need at the moment? I would say yes. Obviously, he's different to McTominay. McTominay's, in my opinion, more of an attacking midfielder than a defensive midfielder. And and Sander Berge is more of a CDM than an attacking midfielder, you know? So it's more down to the preference of what we actually need versus who's better than the other, because some of them are better at different things, aren't they? Right. I think I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. Feels like a good time to end the show. Thank you very much for joining me today. I will be back at 1:30 and I will be back at 6. Please make sure to smash a like before you leave. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. This has been Daily Red Devil. I'll be back at 1:30. Have a lovely day, everybody, and I'll speak to you all later. Bye for now.